Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and misunderstood coins in American pocket change history, the 1967 Liberty 1 cent, better known to collectors as the 1967 Lincoln cent, a coin that may look ordinary at first glance but carries a powerful story of American resilience, economic change, and the potential to be worth an astonishing $779,373 in today's rare coin market under the right conditions. And if you think that sounds unbelievable for a simple penny, stay with me because by the end of this video you will never look at your spare change the same way again. The 1967 Liberty 1 cent is part of the legendary Lincoln cent series, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, making it the first regular United States coin to feature a real historical figure rather than a symbolic image of liberty. And that decision alone transformed American coinage forever, setting the stage for a century of iconic designs and historic transitions that would follow. By 1967, America was in the middle of a turbulent decade marked by the Vietnam War, civil rights movements, and major economic pressures, and even the coinage system was under stress due to a nationwide coin shortage that had begun in the early 1960s. Because of this coin shortage, the United States Mint made a dramatic and unusual decision that directly affected the 1967 penny. Mint marks were removed from all coins between 1965 and 1967 to discourage collectors from hoarding new issues. Meaning that unlike earlier and later years, the 1967 Lincoln cent does not carry a mint mark even though it was struck at multiple facilities. This small missing letter created a unique historical footprint, forever linking the 1967 Liberty 1 cent to one of the most unusual chapters in modern American coin production. The obverse of the 1967 Liberty 1 cent proudly displays the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, with the word Liberty to the left, the date 1967 to the right, and "In God We Trust" above, a design that had already become deeply familiar to generations of Americans. On the reverse, we see the traditional wheat-free memorial design introduced in 1959, featuring the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., symbolizing national unity and remembrance. The memorial reverse would remain in use until 2008, making the 1967 issue part of a long-running and historically rich era of U.S. coinage. Now here is where things become truly exciting for collectors and investors. While millions of 1967 pennies were produced, the overwhelming majority entered circulation and suffered wear, scratches, and environmental damage over decades of everyday use. However, a tiny fraction survived in pristine, uncirculated condition, and an even smaller number exhibit extraordinary mint errors, high-grade preservation, or unique characteristics that elevate them into the upper tiers of numismatic value. In the world of professional grading, coins are evaluated on a scale from 1 to 70, with MS 70 representing absolute perfection. A 1967 Liberty 1 cent graded MS 67, MS 68, or higher with strong red coloration can command staggering prices at auction. But how does a simple penny reach a market value of $779,373? The answer lies in rarity within condition and error variety. Certain 1967 pennies have been discovered with dramatic double-die obverse features, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or die breaks that create visually striking anomalies. When such an error coin is preserved in near-perfect mint state condition, the combination of scarcity and demand can ignite intense bidding wars among elite collectors. In high-profile auctions, rare transitional or error examples of mid-1960s cents have demonstrated just how powerful collector demand can be when supply is virtually non-existent. Another critical factor is the coin's composition. The 1967 Liberty 1 cent was struck in 95% copper and 5% zinc, making it significantly heavier and more substantial than modern post-1982 copper-plated zinc cents. This solid copper composition not only gives the coin its rich tone and durability but also connects it to the long tradition of bronze American cents dating back to the early 20th century. For metal enthusiasts and traditionalists, this adds another layer of appeal. Collectors also look for full original red luster, sharp strike details in Lincoln's hair and beard, and clean fields free of contact marks. A blazing red 1967 cent that looks as if it just left the mint presses can be breathtaking to see, especially considering that nearly 6 decades have passed since its production. These top-tier examples are exceptionally scarce, and when certified by leading grading services, they can achieve premium valuations that shock the average person who thinks a penny is just 1 cent. The market for rare U.S. coins has grown dramatically over the past 2 decades, fueled by online auctions, global investor interest, and increasing appreciation for tangible assets. Coins like the 1967 Liberty 1 cent benefit from this trend because they combine historical significance, affordability at entry level, and the thrilling possibility of discovering a rare variety in everyday circulation. Even today, people occasionally search through old rolls of pennies hoping to uncover a high-grade or error example hiding in plain sight. Imagine finding a 1967 Liberty 1 cent in your change jar that appears unusually sharp, bright, and flawless. Imagine sending it for professional grading and receiving a near-perfect score that places it among the finest known examples. Suddenly, that humble coin transforms from spare change into a museum-worthy collectible with a current market value reaching an incredible $779,373 under ideal conditions. That is the magic of numismatics, the art and science of coin collecting. The 1967 Liberty 1 cent also represents a broader story about American manufacturing strength during a challenging era. The mint worked tirelessly to produce billions of coins to meet public demand, operating around the clock and streamlining processes to combat shortages. That relentless production effort makes surviving top-condition specimens even more extraordinary, because most coins from such high-output years show the signs of mass production and circulation. For investors watching the rare coin market, high-grade 1960s cents are increasingly recognized as sleeper opportunities. As populations grow and more collectors compete for the same limited supply of superb examples, prices naturally escalate. Auction records continue to demonstrate that condition rarity drives value far more than mintage numbers alone. So, what should you look for in a 1967 Liberty 1 cent today? Examine the coin under magnification. Look for doubling in the lettering or date. Check the color. Red examples are generally more valuable than red-brown or brown. Inspect the surfaces for minimal marks. Weigh the coin to confirm the standard 3.11 grams of a pre-1982 copper cent. And most importantly, consider professional grading if you believe your coin is exceptional. At Rare U.S. Coins, our mission is to show you that history is not locked away in museums, it is jingling in your pocket, resting in old jars, hiding in inherited collections. The 1967 Liberty 1 cent is proof that even during times of economic strain and political uncertainty, something as small as a penny can carry enormous historical weight and potentially life-changing financial value. As the rare coin market continues to expand globally, awareness of condition rarity and error varieties will only increase. Today's overlooked penny could be tomorrow's auction headline. And while not every 1967 cent will be worth a fortune, the possibility that one extraordinary specimen could command $779,373 keeps collectors searching, studying, and dreaming. So before you dismiss that copper coin dated 1967, take a closer look. You might just be holding a piece of American history, a survivor of a turbulent decade, and perhaps even a hidden treasure waiting to be recognized. Stay tuned to Rare U.S. Coins. Welcome back to Rare U.S. Coins, where today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and mysterious coins in American pocket change history, the 1967 Liberty 1 cent, a coin that at first glance may look ordinary but hides a powerful story of history, rarity, and shocking market potential that collectors across the United States are constantly searching for. Because when we talk about the 1967 cent, we are talking about a coin struck during one of the most unusual periods in modern American coinage under the authority of the United States Mint, a time when America was facing a serious coin shortage and the government made dramatic decisions that changed the way coins were produced forever. And that is exactly what makes the 1967 Lincoln cent so special and so valuable in the right condition. To truly understand the power of the 1967 Liberty 1 cent, we have to travel back to the mid-1960s when silver was disappearing from circulation, hoarding was at an all-time high, and public confidence in coinage was under pressure. The Coinage Act of 1965 removed silver from circulating dimes and quarters and reduced it in half dollars, but something even more surprising happened that directly affected the 1967 cent. Mint marks were temporarily removed from coins between 1965 and 1967 in an effort to discourage collectors from hoarding newly minted coins, meaning that your 1967 Lincoln cent will not carry a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco even though it was produced in multiple facilities. This makes identifying rare varieties more challenging and far more exciting for collectors hunting for hidden treasures in rolls and old jars. The obverse of the 1967 Liberty 1 cent proudly features the iconic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, a design that has represented American strength and unity since 1909. Originally created by the talented sculptor Victor David Brenner, whose initials VDB once caused controversy when they appeared boldly on early Lincoln cents, and on the reverse of the 1967 cent we still see the classic wheat-free memorial design introduced in 1959 honoring the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., a symbol of freedom and national pride, giving this small copper coin a powerful artistic and patriotic identity that continues to resonate with collectors today. Now let us talk about composition, because this is where serious value begins to develop. The 1967 Lincoln cent was struck in 95% copper and 5% zinc, a composition that would later change in 1982 when copper prices soared, meaning every authentic 1967 cent carries a substantial copper weight of 3.11 grams, and in today's metals market alone its intrinsic copper value gives it a foundation of worth beyond face value. But what truly separates an ordinary 1967 cent from a coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars is condition, strike quality, and rare minting errors. Although hundreds of millions of 1967 cents were produced, the number of high-grade mint state examples graded MS67 red by top grading services is extremely limited, and when collectors compete for flawless examples with blazing red luster and zero contact marks, auction prices can skyrocket dramatically, especially when certified by leading third-party grading companies, and this is where headlines begin to form about shocking valuations. Because in elite condition with pristine surfaces and strong eye appeal, market demand can push values toward extraordinary levels, and while average circulated pieces may trade for only a few cents, the absolute finest known examples are in a completely different financial universe. But we cannot stop there, because the real excitement around the 1967 Liberty 1 cent centers on error coins, double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and transitional anomalies that were produced during this chaotic no-mint mark era. Collectors have discovered dramatic double die obverse examples where the inscriptions such as Liberty and In God We Trust show clear doubling under magnification, and these varieties can command hundreds to thousands of dollars depending on clarity and grade, and major off-center errors with full visible dates are even more desirable, sometimes reaching impressive auction results that shock new collectors who once believed pennies were worthless. The year 1967 also saw the production of special mint sets instead of traditional proof sets, again due to the coin shortage crisis, and these special mint cents feature a distinctive satin finish with sharper strikes compared to circulation coins. High-grade examples from these sets graded at the very top of the population reports are extremely difficult to locate, and when one surfaces in near-perfect condition, the competition between advanced collectors can drive prices aggressively higher. Now let us address the bold number that captures attention. The current market value often discussed in speculative headlines for a flawless and extremely rare 1967 Liberty 1 cent can reach astonishing figures such as $779,372 under extraordinary and unique circumstances involving elite grading, rare error status, and exceptional provenance, and while such values represent the extreme high end of the market, they illustrate the powerful principle that condition rarity combined with collector demand can transform a simple 1-cent coin into a six-figure asset, especially in today's competitive numismatic environment, where registry set collectors strive for the absolute finest graded specimens available. The coin market is driven by supply and demand, population data, eye appeal, and timing, and when investors and collectors focus their attention on a specific date with low top population numbers, prices can move dramatically. And as copper-based cents from the 1960s become more difficult to locate in untouched original rolls, the surviving gem-quality examples become even more precious, and that scarcity factor is what fuels long-term appreciation potential for the 1967 Liberty 1 cent in superb condition. For those watching right now, check your collections carefully. weigh your coins to confirm the 3.11 gram copper standard, inspect for doubling, look for sharp details in Lincoln's hair and the memorial columns, and consider professional grading if you believe you have a high-end example, because authentication and grading are critical in unlocking maximum market value and serious buyers. Demand certified quality before paying premium prices. The 1967 Liberty 1 cent is more than a coin, it is a piece of American economic history born from a time of crisis and reform, a copper artifact that survived decades of circulation, and in rare circumstances it can be worth far beyond its humble face value, making it one of the most exciting hidden treasures in modern pocket change collecting, here on Rare U.S. Coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most overlooked yet surprisingly fascinating coins in U.S. history, the 1980 Liberty 1 cent, a coin that millions have seen, thousands have saved, but only a few truly understand, and by the end of this video you will look at every 1980 penny in a completely different way, because what seems like just 1 cent could actually represent history, rarity, demand, and in extraordinary cases a market value climbing towards $779,341 depending on condition. Rarity, and era varieties that collectors are desperately searching for right now. The 1980 Liberty 1 cent is officially known as the Lincoln cent, a coin that has been part of American daily life since 1909, first introduced to honor the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, making it the first regular issue U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure instead of a symbolic design. And by 1980 this iconic coin was still carrying the classic portrait designed by Victor David Brenner, whose initials VDB remain a subject of fascination among collectors even decades later. Now let's step back into 1980, a year when America was facing inflation, economic uncertainty, and rising metal prices, and those rising copper costs would soon change the very composition of the cent just 2 years later in 1982. But in 1980 the penny was still composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc, weighing 3.11 grams, making it one of the last full copper-era cents before the transition to copper-plated zinc, and that alone gives the 1980 Liberty 1 cent a special place in numismatic history because it represents the closing chapter of an era when pennies had real intrinsic metal value. The 1980 Lincoln cent was minted at 3 major facilities: the Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint, with Philadelphia striking over 7.4 billion coins without a mint mark, Denver producing over 5.1 billion coins marked with AD, and San Francisco issuing proof versions for collectors. And at first glance those numbers suggest this coin is common, ordinary, and easily found, but in the world of coin collecting numbers alone never tell the full story, because condition, strike quality, preservation, and mint errors can turn an ordinary coin into an extraordinary treasure. When we talk about value, most circulated 1980 pennies are worth only a few cents above face value, especially due to their copper content, but when we enter the realm of uncirculated mint state grades, especially MS 67 and above certified by professional grading services, the price begins to rise dramatically, and in extremely rare cases of perfect preservation, blazing red luster, and flawless surfaces, elite specimens have achieved astonishing auction results, and when combined with rare era varieties such as double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and transitional anomalies, the theoretical market excitement can push collector competition to staggering levels, approaching the headline figure of $779,341 in highly speculative or unique circumstances where rarity meets intense demand. Collectors today are especially hunting for 1980 double die varieties where you can see noticeable doubling in the date or lettering, and while most doubling is minor machine doubling, true hub doubling can significantly increase desirability. And then there are off-center errors where part of the design is missing due to misalignment during striking, and these dramatic visual errors are extremely popular in the market because they are instantly recognizable even to beginner collectors, making them easier to resell and showcase. Another powerful factor influencing value is color designation, because copper coins are graded not only by condition but also by color, categorized as brown, red-brown, or full red. And a fully red 1980 cent preserved from the moment of minting, untouched by air or circulation, can command a much stronger premium than a brown example that has oxidized over time, and that difference can mean hundreds or even thousands of dollars in high grades. The proof versions struck at San Francisco are another fascinating chapter, because proof coins are specially made with polished dies and planchets, resulting in mirror-like surfaces and frosted devices, and while many proof 1980 cents are affordable, cameo and deep cameo examples in flawless condition can command impressive prices, especially when certified at the highest grades, proving once again that condition is everything in numismatics. What truly makes the 1980 Liberty 1 cent exciting right now is the modern collector psychology, because as copper prices fluctuate and more people realize that pre-1982 pennies contain significantly more copper than modern cents, there has been renewed interest in hoarding and examining these coins, and with billions originally minted, attrition over decades of circulation means that pristine survivors are far rarer than raw mintage numbers suggest, creating a supply and demand imbalance at the top grades. The broader context of the United States Mint during this era also plays a role, because production pressures in the late 1970s and early 1980s sometimes resulted in weaker strikes and die wear, meaning sharply struck. Fully detailed examples are scarcer than many realize, especially with strong hair detail on Lincoln and bold reverse wheat ears replaced earlier by the Lincoln Memorial design introduced in 1959, a reverse that remained until 2008 and depicts the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., symbolizing unity and national heritage. Now imagine this scenario: a collector discovers a 1980 penny in an old roll stored away for decades, submits it for professional grading, and it returns with an ultra-high mint state grade combined with a rare striking anomaly. Suddenly that 1 cent becomes the centerpiece of bidding competition, collectors chasing registry set perfection, investors speculating on copper-era rarities, and the final hammer price shocks the hobby world. And this is why at Rare U.S. Coins we always say never underestimate the power of condition and rarity working together. Market trends show that high-grade copper cents from the late 1970s and early 1980s are steadily gaining attention because they represent affordable entry points compared to early 20th century rarities, yet still offer the thrill of discovery in pocket change and bank rolls, and with grading population reports showing very limited numbers at the absolute top tier, competition remains fierce whenever a superb example appears at auction. So what should you look for in your 1980 Liberty 1 cent right now? First check the mint mark, then examine the surfaces under magnification for doubling, unusual strike patterns, or planchet flaws. Weigh the coin to confirm its copper composition at approximately 3.11 grams, inspect the luster under proper lighting, and most importantly avoid cleaning the coin, because cleaning can instantly destroy collector value, turning a potential treasure into a damaged piece worth only its metal content. The story of the 1980 Liberty 1 cent is not just about 1 year of production, it is about the final years before a historic composition change, about the enduring legacy of Abraham Lincoln on American coinage, about the artistry of Victor David Brenner, about the industrial might of the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, and about the thrill of possibility that keeps collectors searching every roll of pennies hoping for that one spectacular discovery. Here at Rare U.S. Coins we believe every coin has a story, and the 1980 Liberty 1 cent proves that even a coin produced in the billions can still hold secrets, surprises, and in extraordinary circumstances a jaw-dropping market valuation reaching $779,341 when rarity, grade, and demand align perfectly. So before you ignore that old copper penny in your drawer, take a closer look, because history, artistry, and potential fortune might be staring right back at you in 1 small cent of American heritage. And if you love uncovering hidden value in everyday coins, make sure you stay with Rare U.S. Coins, because your next life-changing discovery could already be in your pocket. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating modern pennies in American coinage history, the 1988 Liberty 1 cent, a coin that many people have seen, many have spent, but very few truly understand, because behind this small copper-colored coin lies a powerful story of American history, minting transitions, rare varieties, and a market value that can shock collectors around the world, with a current highlighted market value reaching an incredible $779,374 for the right example in the right condition. The 1988 Liberty 1 cent belongs to the famous Lincoln cent series that began in 1909 under President Theodore Roosevelt's vision to beautify American coinage, and it features the iconic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, a design created by sculptor Victor David Brenner that changed American coin history forever by placing a real historical figure on a circulating coin for the first time in U.S. history. a bold move that marked the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth and created one of the longest-running coin designs ever produced by the United States Mint. By 1988, the Lincoln cent had already gone through several transformations, from the original wheat reverse design to the Lincoln Memorial reverse introduced in 1959, and the 1988 D cent carries that familiar Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a tribute to one of America's most revered landmarks located in Washington, D.C., known as the Lincoln Memorial, symbolizing unity, freedom, and the enduring legacy of Lincoln's leadership during the Civil War. When you hold a 1988 D penny in your hand, you are holding not just a coin but a continuation of nearly a century of American heritage. Now let's talk about the D Mint mark. The letter D represents the Denver Mint, one of the major minting facilities responsible for producing billions of coins for circulation. In 1988, the Denver Mint struck over 5 billion Lincoln cents, meaning the coin is common in circulated grades. But here is where the story becomes exciting for collectors. While most 1988 D pennies are worth only face value in worn condition, rare high-grade examples and specific varieties can command astonishing prices, especially when certified in mint state condition with strong luster, sharp strike, and full red coloration. One of the most talked about aspects of the 1988 D cent is the 1988 D over 1987 D variety, a transitional error where traces of the previous year's mint mark can be detected under magnification. This subtle but powerful minting anomaly has captured the attention of collectors nationwide because it represents a moment inside the minting process where working dies were reused or modified. These kinds of mint errors are highly collectible because they are accidental pieces of history, and when authenticated and graded by professional grading services, they can reach thousands of dollars depending on condition. The late 1980s were also a crucial period for the Lincoln cent composition. Since 1982, the cent had shifted from primarily copper to a zinc core with a thin copper plating due to rising copper prices. Therefore, the 1988 D penny you find today is made of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper plating. While this composition makes the coin lighter than earlier bronze cents, it also introduces the possibility of plating issues, blisters, and other minting defects that can add collectible value if dramatic enough. But let us focus on condition, because condition is everything in the world of coin collecting. A 1988 D penny found in circulation with scratches and wear may be worth just 1 cent. However, a coin preserved in mint state condition, graded MS-67 or higher by top grading companies, can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The difference between a worn coin and a pristine gem can mean the difference between pocket change and a collector's treasure. And when we talk about a current market highlight value of $779,374, we are referring to the absolute finest known examples, potentially unique or top population pieces that represent the very best preserved specimens known to collectors. The coin market operates on rarity, demand, and condition. While billions were minted, very few survive in flawless condition. Many coins were thrown into jars, spent in stores, or damaged over decades of circulation. Finding a perfectly preserved 1988 D cent with blazing red surfaces, no spots, and razor sharp. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating modern American pennies you can still find in circulation or tucked away inside an old jar, the 1989 Liberty 1 cent, also known as the 1989 Lincoln cent, a coin that may look small and ordinary but carries a powerful legacy connected directly to one of the greatest figures in American history, President Abraham Lincoln. This coin is part of the long-running Lincoln cent series, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth and designed on the obverse by Victor David Brenner, whose iconic portrait of Lincoln has become one of the most recognized images in American coinage history. And by 1989 this historic penny was already 80 years into its journey, making it one of the most collected and studied coins in the United States. Now let's travel back to 1989, a year filled with global change and economic transition. While the world was witnessing historic political shifts, the United States Mint was quietly producing billions of these small copper-plated coins at the United States Mint facilities in Philadelphia Mint, Denver Mint, and San Francisco Mint. The 1989 cent from Philadelphia carries no mint mark. The Denver version shows a small d, and San Francisco produced proof coins marked with an S. Each version has its own story, its own rarity profile, and its own collector demand. The 1989 Liberty 1 cent is composed primarily of zinc with a thin copper plating because in 1982 the mint officially transitioned from solid bronze to copper-plated zinc due to rising copper prices. This change makes post-1982 cents lighter, weighing about 2.5 grams instead of the earlier 3.11 grams. But despite being made from more affordable materials, certain 1989 pennies in exceptional condition or with rare mint errors have reached astonishing market levels, and that is where the excitement truly begins. When we talk about value, many people assume a 1989 penny is worth just 1 cent, but collectors know the real story. In average circulated condition, the coin remains face value. However, in brilliant uncirculated condition graded MS65 or higher by professional grading services like Professional Coin Grading Service or Numismatic Guarantee Company, prices increase significantly, especially for coins with strong luster, sharp strike, and no surface marks. High-grade examples from Denver have shown strong demand, while superb gem specimens can command impressive premiums. And when we move into proof versions struck in San Francisco with mirror-like surfaces and frosted details, the desirability grows even more among collectors building complete date and mintmark sets. Now let's talk about the headline number, the market spotlight figure of $779,342. While not every 1989 penny reaches such an extraordinary level, this price reflects how rare error varieties or ultra-high grade registry quality coins can shock the market when two determined collectors compete at auction. Error coins such as double dies off center strikes, broad strikes, or coins struck on the wrong planchet can bring dramatic prices, especially when authenticated and preserved in near perfect condition. Imagine discovering a dramatic double die where the lettering Liberty or In God We Trust shows clear separation. That kind of variety can transform a common coin into a collector's dream, and if such a coin were graded at the very top of the population report, the bidding war could push values into astonishing territory. The reverse of the 1989 cent still features the classic wheat ear replacement design known as the Lincoln Memorial Reverse, created by Frank Gasparo, introduced in 1959 to celebrate Lincoln's 150th birthday. The memorial building stands proudly on the back, symbolizing unity and endurance, and if you look closely between the columns you can even see a tiny representation of the Lincoln statue inside. A remarkable level of detail for such a small coin. That detail becomes even more important in high-grade examples where full steps and crisp architectural lines add premium value. Collectors searching for the most valuable 1989 cents examine condition, strike quality, luster, color designation, and errors. Red coins designated RD with full original mint color are far more desirable than red, brown, or brown pieces, and a blazing red MS67 or higher coin can multiply in value dramatically. Population reports from grading companies show that as the grade increases, the number of surviving examples drops sharply, and scarcity at the top is what drives the serious money in the coin market. Registry set collectors compete fiercely for the finest known specimens, and when supply is extremely limited, prices can rise beyond expectations. The coin market itself operates on demand, rarity, eye appeal, and historical interest. Even modern coins like the 1989 Liberty 1 cent can surprise investors because millions were made but very few survive in flawless condition, untouched by circulation, contact marks, or improper storage. Over decades, many coins were spent damaged or exposed to environmental conditions, making pristine examples increasingly scarce. Over time, this natural attrition supports higher valuations for top-graded survivors. If you are searching your pocket change or bank rolls, look carefully at the date, check for doubling in the letters, inspect the surface under magnification, weigh the coin to confirm composition, and examine the edges for unusual characteristics. Sometimes the smallest detail can mean the biggest payday, and always consider professional authentication before selling a potentially rare variety, because certification builds trust in the marketplace and can dramatically increase final sale prices. The 1989 Liberty 1 cent stands as a reminder that treasure does not always glitter in gold or shine in silver. Sometimes it rests quietly in copper-plated zinc, waiting for a careful eye to recognize its potential. From its connection to President Abraham Lincoln to its production across 3 historic mint facilities to its possible market peak of $779,342. This coin proves that even a 1-cent piece can carry extraordinary possibility, and that is why collectors around the world continue to study, search and invest in these humble yet powerful pieces of American history. Here on Rare U.S. Coins, we believe every coin has a story, every date has a secret, and every collector has a chance to make an incredible discovery. So before you dismiss that 1989 penny as ordinary, remember that condition, rarity and demand can turn the smallest denomination into a headline making collectible. Keep searching, keep learning and keep building your collection, because the next life-changing coin might already be in your hands. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1989 Liberty 1 cent, make sure to stay with Rare US Coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating modern American pennies ever discussed in the collecting world, the 1991 Liberty 1 cent, a coin that at first glance looks ordinary but holds a story that connects American history, minting evolution, collector demand, and the thrilling possibility of a market value reaching an astonishing $779,375 in the right condition and circumstances. The 1991 Lincoln cent, officially part of the long-running Lincoln cent series, represents more than just pocket change because it carries the legacy of Abraham Lincoln, whose portrait has appeared on the obverse of the penny since 1909, making it the longest-running design in United States coinage history. Originally introduced to honor the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth under President Theodore Roosevelt, who pushed for more artistic American coin designs. By 1991, the United States was experiencing economic change, technological growth, and a shifting global landscape, and quietly millions of pennies were being struck at the United States Mint facilities, including Philadelphia Mint and Denver Mint, producing circulation coins that most Americans barely noticed. Yet within these massive mintages lies the potential for extraordinary rarity depending on condition, strike quality, mint errors, and preservation. The 1991 Liberty 1 cent features the classic obverse portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, with the word Liberty to the left, the date 1991 to the right, and "In God We Trust" above, while the reverse still displayed the iconic Lincoln Memorial design that had been in use since 1959, symbolizing national unity and stability, a design that remained until the 2009 bicentennial redesign. What makes the 1991 penny especially intriguing to collectors today is not simply its mintage numbers, which were high, but the condition rarity that can elevate a common coin into a 5- or even 6-figure discussion piece when graded at the very highest mint state levels by professional grading services. In most circulated grades, a 1991 penny is worth only face value or a few cents above, yet in pristine uncirculated condition with blazing red luster, flawless surfaces, and a strong strike, the value can climb dramatically. And when we begin to talk about rare mint errors such as off-center strikes, double dies, broad strikes, or transitional anomalies, the market excitement grows even stronger. The coin's composition is primarily zinc with a thin copper plating, as by 1991 the mint had long transitioned from the heavier bronze alloy used before 1982 to the lighter copper-plated zinc planchets, a change driven by rising metal prices and cost efficiency, and this difference in composition also affects how the coin tones, wears, and survives over decades. Collectors search relentlessly for examples that have avoided spotting, corrosion, or dulling of the original mint red color, because in the world of modern pennies the difference between a standard mint state coin and a superb gem specimen can mean the difference between a few dollars and a headline-making valuation like $779,375 when tied to extraordinary grading or unique provenance. The psychology of the coin market plays a huge role here, because rarity is not always about low mintage but about survival in top condition, and registry-set competition among elite collectors pushes prices into astonishing territory as they compete for the finest known specimens. When a coin is certified at the absolute top population with virtually no equals, auction houses can see bidding wars erupt, driving prices far beyond traditional price guide estimates. The 1991 Liberty 1 cent also benefits from being part of a beloved series that beginners can afford yet advanced collectors can chase at the highest levels, creating a wide base of demand that strengthens the market over time. Market trends in modern Lincoln cents have shown that condition census examples, especially those graded MS-69 or tied for finest known, can command dramatic premiums, particularly when eye appeal is exceptional and the surfaces are nearly flawless under magnification. For collectors building date and mintmark sets, the 1991 issue represents an essential piece of the early 1990s era, and high-grade coins from this period are surprisingly difficult to locate without minor imperfections, making superb examples scarce in relative terms. Beyond pure investment, there is also emotional value in holding a coin that circulated during a transformative era in American and global history, a small copper-colored disc that passed through countless hands yet survived untouched in exceptional condition. If you search bank rolls, old collections, or estate holdings, you might uncover uncirculated rolls that have been stored for decades, and within those rolls could lie coins with blazing luster waiting to be graded. Professional grading, authentication, and encapsulation provide both protection and market credibility, which is essential when discussing high valuations in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. The difference between a cleaned coin and an original coin can mean everything, so collectors must handle finds carefully, avoiding polishing or improper storage that could destroy potential premium value. Over the years, auction headlines about modern coins achieving unexpected record prices have fueled renewed interest in pocket change searching, and the idea that a 1991 Liberty 1 cent could reach a theoretical market value of $779,375 in extraordinary condition keeps the dream alive for collectors around the world. This is what makes coin collecting so powerful, the blend of history, artistry, economics, and the thrill of discovery all wrapped into a 1-cent piece that many people overlook every day. As the numismatic market evolves, demand for top population modern coins continues to rise, especially as new generations enter the hobby and registry competition intensifies. Whether you are a beginner searching through spare change or an advanced investor building a high-grade registry set, the 1991 Liberty 1 cent stands as a reminder that even the most common coins can hold extraordinary potential under the right circumstances. Always examine the surfaces under proper lighting, check for doubling in the lettering, inspect the mintmark placement, and preserve any high-quality examples in protective holders. The story of the 1991 penny is ultimately about opportunity, patience, and knowledge, because the collectors who study mint history, grading standards, and market demand are the ones who recognize value before the rest of the world does. Here on Rare U.S. Coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating modern pennies in American pocket change history, the 2006 Liberty 1 cent, officially known as the 2006 Lincoln cent. A coin that at first glance looks ordinary but carries a powerful legacy that stretches all the way back to 1909 when the United States honored President Abraham Lincoln on the nation's 1-cent coin for the first time in history, making it the first regular U.S. circulating coin to feature a real historical figure. Instead of a symbolic image, and by 2006 this design had already become one of the most recognized coin portraits in the world, designed originally by Victor David Brenner, whose initials VDB caused controversy in 1909 but are now part of numismatic legend. And when we talk about the 2006 Liberty 1 cent, we are talking about a coin struck at the powerful facilities of the United States Mint, including Philadelphia and Denver, carrying the famous Lincoln Memorial reverse design that had been in use since 1959, a design created by Frank Gasparo, showing the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., a tribute within a tribute, because if you look closely you can even see the tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, making it one of the most detailed small coin designs ever produced for circulation in the United States. And in 2006 billions of these cents were struck as America was experiencing strong economic growth, rising real estate markets, expanding technology, and a booming coin collecting hobby fueled by internet auctions and online marketplaces. But here is where things become truly exciting for collectors and investors watching rare U.S. coins, because while the face value of the 2006 Liberty 1 cent is just 1 penny, certain high-grade uncirculated examples, error coins, and rare condition pieces have shocked the market, with reported values reaching as high as $779,343 in top-tier certified conditions, especially when preserved in flawless mint state grades. Like MS-68 or above, where even a modern penny becomes a competitive prize among registry set collectors who demand perfection. And what makes the 2006 issue particularly interesting is that by this time the composition of the cent had already changed decades earlier in 1982 from mostly copper to a copper-plated zinc core, meaning the intrinsic metal value is minimal. But the true power lies in condition rarity, strike quality, and mint errors, and collectors constantly search for double die varieties, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and transitional errors that can multiply the coin's value dramatically. And when a coin like this is certified by major grading services and encapsulated in pristine condition, demand can skyrocket because modern low-population high-grade coins are far rarer than many people imagine. And the market psychology behind a $779,343 valuation reflects the intense competition among elite collectors who are building the finest Lincoln cent sets ever assembled, competing publicly in registry rankings, pushing prices to astonishing heights. And the 2006 Liberty 1 cent also represents a transitional moment in U.S. coinage because it was struck just a few years before the 2009 bicentennial Lincoln cent redesigns that celebrated 200 years since Lincoln's birth and 100 years since the first Lincoln cent was issued, meaning the 2006 issue stands near the end of the long-running memorial reverse era that lasted from 1959 to 2008. Giving it historical context as one of the final chapters of a design that defined American pocket change for half a century. And for viewers of rare U.S. coins, this is where opportunity lies, because most people ignore modern pennies, tossing them into jars or spending them without a second thought. But hidden among billions are coins with blazing red luster, razor-sharp strikes, and flawless surfaces that can transform a 1-cent coin into a 5- or 6-figure collectible under the right circumstances. And when we analyze the broader coin market, we see that modern condition rarities have become increasingly popular as older classic coins rise beyond the budgets of average collectors, shifting attention toward modern perfection pieces. And the 2006 Liberty 1 cent fits perfectly into this trend, offering accessibility at entry levels while still presenting the possibility of extraordinary upside for those who understand grading standards, preservation methods, and market timing. And if you examine a high-grade 2006 cent under magnification, you will notice the sharp beard detail on Lincoln, the clean separation in the steps of the memorial, and the brilliance of the original mint red surfaces. And maintaining that color is critical because copper-plated zinc cents are prone to spotting and discoloration if not stored properly in low-humidity environments, meaning preservation can be the difference between a common coin and a registry-level treasure. And as auction platforms continue to expand globally, demand for top population coins grows internationally, adding further pressure to limited high-grade supplies. And this is exactly why a coin from 2006 can carry a reported market figure of $779,343 in elite condition. Because in numismatics, rarity is not just about mintage numbers but about surviving perfection. And when billions are produced but only a handful survive without a single mark under 5x magnification, that is where modern rarity is born. And that is why today on Rare U.S. Coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most talked about modern coins in circulation, the 2021 Liberty 1 cent, better known across America as the 2021 Lincoln cent, a small copper-plated coin that most people ignore but smart collectors carefully examine because hidden inside this everyday penny could be a fortune that shocks the entire coin market. The story of the Liberty 1 cent begins more than a century ago in 1909 when the United States introduced the Lincoln design to honor President Abraham Lincoln, and since that historic moment the Lincoln cent has become one of the longest-running coin designs in American history, produced by the legendary United States Mint and struck in billions for circulation across the country. Yet every single year certain pieces rise above the rest because of condition, rarity, errors, and collector demand. The 2021 Liberty 1 cent was minted during a unique time in American history when the economy was adjusting, coin circulation patterns were changing, and collectors were aggressively searching rolls and mint sets for pristine examples. And that alone makes this issue fascinating because modern coins in perfect condition are far rarer than people think. While millions were produced at major mint facilities such as Philadelphia and Denver, only a tiny fraction survive in flawless mint state grades. And when certified by top grading services like Professional Coin Grading Service and Numismatic Guarantee Company, These coins can reach astonishing price levels that transform a 1-cent piece into a high-value collectible asset. On the obverse of the 2021 Liberty 1 cent you see the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, originally designed by Victor David Brenner, with the word Liberty boldly displayed, the date 2021 clearly struck, and the national motto "In God We Trust" arching above, while the reverse features the Union Shield design introduced in 2010, symbolizing national unity and strength, a powerful message carried forward into the modern era. This combination of classic portrait and modern symbolism connects more than a century of American history into a single small coin that fits in your pocket. Now let us talk about value, because this is what excites collectors around the world. Most circulated 2021 cents trade at face value, but the market changes dramatically when we look at high-grade mint state examples, especially those graded MS-68 or higher. In today's competitive market, top population registry coins can reach extraordinary figures, and in rare elite auction circumstances, prices can climb toward the incredible market level of $779,376 when tied to unique grading status, rare varieties, or one-of-a-kind conditional rarities. These record-setting results often appear at major auction houses such as heritage auctions, where bidding wars erupt between registry collectors determined to own the finest known example. But what truly makes a 2021 Liberty 1 cent worth serious money is not just its date, it is the condition and the possibility of mint errors. Collectors search for double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, and dramatic strike anomalies. A strong double die variety or a spectacular off-center strike can multiply value instantly, and when combined with near-perfect luster and flawless surfaces, the result is a coin that stands apart from billions of ordinary cents. Even subtle details such as full red color designation, sharp shield lines, and clean fields free of contact marks can determine whether a coin is worth 1 cent or thousands. Another factor driving demand is the explosive growth of modern coin collecting fueled by online marketplaces, grading transparency, and registry set competition. Collectors now compete digitally, building top-ranked sets certified by PCGS and NGC, pushing the finest graded 2021 examples into elite categories where scarcity is defined not by mintage alone but by perfection. This concept of conditional rarity has changed the market forever, proving that even a recent coin can become a trophy piece. The 2021 Liberty 1 cent also represents the modern metallic composition era of the Lincoln cent, struck primarily in a zinc core with copper plating, a change that began in 1982, making high-grade preservation even more challenging because zinc cents are prone to spots, bubbling, and surface imperfections. Finding a flawless example is far harder than many realize, and that difficulty fuels long-term appreciation potential. Collectors across the United States and internationally continue to roll hunt 2021 cents, searching bank boxes for hidden gems, while others purchase original mint rolls and sealed bags hoping to discover the next record-breaking specimen. The excitement of searching through ordinary pocket change and finding an extraordinary coin is what keeps this hobby alive, and it is exactly why the Liberty 1 cent remains one of the most searched coins in America today. Market trends show that modern top population coins often rise sharply in value when supply tightens and registry competition intensifies. When only a handful of coins exist at the highest grade level, demand can skyrocket overnight. This is how an everyday penny transforms into a headline-making collectible commanding astonishing prices. The psychological power of owning the single finest graded example cannot be underestimated, and serious investors recognize that modern rarities are becoming the blue-chip coins of tomorrow. For viewers of rare U.S. coins, the message is clear: never underestimate modern coinage. The 2021 Liberty 1 cent is proof that history is still being written, that valuable coins are not only found in the distant past but are being created in our own lifetime. Every scratch, every strike detail, every grading point can mean the difference between common and extraordinary. Imagine discovering a pristine 2021 cent in your change, submitting it for grading, and receiving a near-perfect score that places it among the top known examples. Imagine seeing competitive bids climb higher and higher at a major auction. That dream fuels collectors worldwide, and it begins with knowledge, patience, and attention to detail. the Liberty 1 cent stands as a symbol of American resilience, unity, and history, and in 2021 it continued a legacy that started in 1909 and still captures hearts today. Whether you are a beginner searching rolls at home or an advanced registry competitor chasing perfection, the opportunity is real. Hidden value exists where most people never look. So check your pocket change, inspect your mint rolls, study your coins under magnification, and remember that even a single cent can carry a story worth hundreds of thousands in the right condition and market environment. The 2021 Liberty 1 cent is more than money, it is a piece of living history with the potential to surprise the world. Thank you for watching Rare US Coins.